Good evening and welcome to Hot Topics from the Soul. I'm your host, Dr. Valerie Parker Hagan, and I'm so happy to be with you here the month of February. I can't believe we're in the second month of 2023, and in telling you it is going to be an amazing month. We're starting off this month with Is Loving Easy? I was told today that today is Rose Day, National Rose Day, where individuals will be giving out roses throughout the month of February because it's Valentine's Day. So I thought it appropriate to start the February show off with Is Loving Easy? You know, folks, some of our people aren't lovable at all. But then you have so many individuals that are wanting to get into relationships, so many people that want to get out of relationships, and so many are trying to just hold on with all they have to just loving themselves. So I have a special guest, Dr. J.R. Thickman will be joining us shortly. He's my co-host, but I have with me joining Tiffany Breon. Tiffany, are you there? Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Is loving easy? I think that this dispensation we're living in, so many individuals are wanting to be loved and want to know how do they know when this love is real when they come upon somebody. And then sometimes you just know. When I met my husband, one of the things I loved about him the most was that he didn't care about the superficial. He didn't care that I was Val Parker. He didn't care about any of that. He actually wanted to know about me. He cared about those things concerning me. And that's what got my attention with him because, I've traveled the world. I've met so many different people, and he was different. He set himself apart. And then when we actually went out on our first date and we began to talk, it was just like it, he would say we both knew that we would be dating for a while. And then shortly after that, getting married, we got married after a year of dating, but we both knew. And we both had, like people will say, that aha moment, that connection was there. And here we are 8 years later, and we're still in love. I tell him every day, I said, I love you more than I did yesterday. And he always say, is that a fact? I said, yes. And I said, if you do me right, I'll love you even more tomorrow.
Oh,
So, love is give and take is my point. If you want to be loved, you have to show love and give love, and so that it can be reciprocated. I was at church Sunday. I go to the Faith Center with Bishop Henry Fernandez, and he was talking about how when he met Pastor Carol, that he didn't have anything. He said he had a pair of pants and two shirts and didn't have no bank account, no money, didn't have a car. And she was more like out of his league. But she wound up marrying him. And look at them today. They passed it over. They have over 40,000 people on their roster as members of the church. And it's a process. Sometimes love isn't instantaneously, but it is a process. What has been your experience when it relates to love? And do you think that loving is easy?
well, and I believe in my younger years I would have thought that loving was easy, but after having gone through a divorce and then being back out on the market again, I have found as of late that it hasn't been as easy as I would have hoped, especially after trying to begin again. Um, Love is a very interesting thing, I must say, because I mean, it's like, you have to, like you said, have two people coming together with the same common goal, and that is to make a relationship what it should be. And unfortunately, sometimes we have a misconception of what love is, but I think it's very important to upfront define expectations early.
Hmm.
That's very important. So.
So you think that a lot of individuals have their own expectations of what they expect from a partner, not and haven't communicated what those expectations are, and that's why sometimes the relationship fails.
Absolutely. I believe that's the biggest reason, because if I'm expecting something from the individual and I haven't really conveyed to him what my expectations are, then I mean he can't assume anything, because I mean even in the course of conversation, when having a conversation with someone, if you don't really break it down sometimes to the lowest common denominator, then they have no clue what you were talking about. So
Mhm.
I think it's very important to have a conversation up front to let people know what the expectations are from both sides.
Yeah, but do you think that when you allow an individual, say, from a woman's perspective, um, do you think that some men think that you're high maintenance when you lay on the line those expectations that you have?
Well, yeah, probably so. I must say, and maybe, and that's why sometimes I think it's very important to also even get feedback from others as to how you're coming across, um, because that's very important. I mean, because people look at me and assume that I'm a snob, but until you have a conversation with me, you would know that I'm really not, and I'm really down to earth. But I mean, but you have to have that conversation before you can jump to any conclusions.
Yeah, well, in the business world, people think that I am hardcore, no nonsense, which I am a little bit. Yeah, I am. But, uh, and they're afraid of approaching me because I'm focused. I'm business minded. So I'm not there in my business arena for years. I have not gave off any ears that I was available. And I think that some women throw themselves too loosely and
Right,
say, hey, I'm open. And then they become prey to the predators because they spot when individuals are kind of insecure
right,
about who they are. And then the expectations get shattered on both sides after a while.
right. That's true. That's true. I know one thing I am really big on making sure that I kind of get feedback from others, just to make sure that I'm not presenting in the wrong way, you know. As a matter of fact, I had a conversation with one of my clients today, and I asked him, did I look like I was unapproachable? And he said no. So I was like, okay, I just wanted to make sure. So,
Yeah, want to know if your radar is on saying, yes, you can approach me. I'm interested. And do you feel that it's heightened in February that women go through a type of depression? And because I'm sure Dr. J will be joining us soon, so I'm sure he can talk from that perspective. But I want to hear from your perspective that do you think an extra anxiety comes about in the month of February?
absolutely. I would say yes. I would definitely say yes, because I mean, especially after you've been in a situation where you've been in a relationship and you've experienced what it was like to have the flowers and the candy and the cards and, you know, the teddy bears and all of those things. And then to, you know, at one point have it, and then all of a sudden you don't have it. And especially for an extended period, it's like, wait a minute. Then you start to kind of question, like, wait a minute, is something wrong with me? You know, like what's wrong? Why has it been so long? You know,
Mhm.
I mean, I find myself asking that question. I had somebody say to me, and I've had people say all the time, be patient. I've been divorced for 17 years. How patient must I be?
Well, I was divorced for 19 years before
Uh,
I remarried again. So, yeah, I occupied until he came,
yeah,
uh, and he was worth the wait
right, right.
because sometimes I anxiety of being alone allows us sometimes to be with individuals that don't have our best interests in heart. And I think we missed a mark because of that, because we wind up settling.
Yeah, and see that's the thing that's been my continual prayer. I've been saying and asking God for years, God help me to not allow my desire to be wanted to cause me to ignore things that I should be paying attention to. I really think that's important. And then too, when you know like what your purpose is, you also know that you have to be careful about who you connect with as well. So I thank God that I feel like I'm in a healthy space where I'm able to rightly divide or keenly discern what needs to be seen early on. and I'm still, of course, very prayerful, watching as well as praying.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have to, because we have to be alert, woke, as the young kids you would say,
Hmm.
to know the what those predators
Yeah.
or that king is really looking for. And I think that, being that we're of a certain age, I think we should, just put everything down on the table. We should put our financial portfolio down. We should put our credit down on the table, and whatever it is we own, we should put it on the table. And then if you desire to take me or take him as it is, then, if you decide to move to the next level, I have no objections to prenup. I think prenups are very important. What do you think regarding that?
Well, I'm kind of on the fence with that, because especially if you've acquired so much and all of that, it kind of makes you wonder. I mean, I do sometimes question motives. So I guess, it goes back to defining expectations up front, because if we come to that agreement or come to that conclusion together, then I mean, if both people are in agreement, I think that's okay.
Hmm. Yeah, if those and then sometimes, like, I think it's important that both sides divulge what's going on in their lives, because, like, if, let's say, you have a nice financial portfolio and
Hmm.
you marry someone that does not have that in place, and he got all kind of judgments and stuff going on. Once you say I do,
That's
then
it.
you become part of that judgment.
That's right. That's right.
That's it, because they're going to go after you as the spouse. So it is very important. And at this age of the game, we should have our credit intact.
Right. That's
We
right.
really should. I mean, whatever we did in our younger years should not be transported into us as full grown adults.
That's true.
Even at a young age, I taught my children about financial responsibilities. Pay your bills so you can get credit. Don't get cars that you can't afford. Don't get homes you're not going to be able to pay the rent, and going to be calling me, tell my mama, can you send me some money, I'm short. This is not how life is, because there are people that are living large, and then when they meet an individuals, they get a representative of what the reality really is. So I think that we should be authentic in all we do, if we're looking for that individual to share our life space with.
I think that's very true. I totally agree. I totally agree. So,
So when you're what are some good places to meet? Because I always have, people ask me, well, where did you find your king at? I said, I met him online. I bought him for $3.
wow. $3.
$3, and gave me so far I'm living 8 years of bliss. Um, but it's different from everybody. I went to the grocery stores, I went to events, I went to the mall, nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, because I mean, I've heard quite a few of my friends and associates say that they met someone online, and and I think it's amazing. And just about everybody I know that did that had good success stories. I mean, it's like, even, I mean, like listening to you and you sharing your story, it's like it blesses my heart. But it's like, when I tried to do it though, it was like I had like real bad anxiety about it.
Hmm.
Fully know why. All I know is like I did a profile, and it was like I had so many hits.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. That's why I think it's a very important for you to be precise in that what you want, and discerning. A spiritual walk is very important when you're going through different processes like this. And, because the truth of the matter is, you can meet someone in church. My husband was a pastor and he was abusive. I did
Right,
19 years with that.
right.
So, you can meet someone in a grocery store and spend the rest of your life and totally be happy. So it's different windows that God allows you to function in to meet
Yeah.
that purpose and that goal for your life. And we should always be open to the possibilities, but also be careful in the possibilities.
Right. That's true. That's true. I'm just sitting up here wondering, like, because I mean, like you said, I mean, one thing is for sure that I don't necessarily have to get him from the church because I've seen so much in church. And I've been in church ever since I was a kid, so all my life pretty much, and
Hmm.
I've seen a lot in church. So he doesn't necessarily have to come from the church, but I would love to have someone that actually really does really love God. You
And
know, yes,
shares
because
your Christian beliefs, and that's very important too. How important would you think that is, coming from your perspective, to be in alliance with someone in agreement?
oh man, I mean that's huge. I mean because I realized that if you connect with somebody, because I was before connected with somebody that really didn't share the same values as far as Christian beliefs and all of that, it was toxic. It was dangerous. It was dangerous for me because I mean, I got to a place where I didn't even know myself because I literally became somebody else. It's like, I mean, it was like I didn't like me. I had a very low self esteem, and I allowed a lot of what he was feeling about himself emotionally. I allowed him to project those things onto me, not fully understanding that it was him that was feeling the way he was trying to make me feel, you know. But when I came to myself and I began to let him know, hey, wait a minute, this is not who I am. So, you know, and then all of a sudden things shifted and he would say, you think you're all that. No, I actually know that I am, you know, not in my own strength and not in my own self, but through Christ, I am all that. Yes, I am. But I mean, it's like if I had not gotten out of that situation when I did, I think I would have either taken my life or his. So when
Mhm.
you're in a situation where you're homicidal and suicidal, baby, you need to do something about it. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm. So, what was your aha moment in that relationship? Because it's better to be alone than to wish you were.
Right.
So many people want things so badly and don't know what they're wishing for because they're rushing. And a lot of times you get an interpretation of someone that's not authentic, and you're thinking that individual's that one way, and he's not. I lived it, like I said, for 19 years, not realizing, you know, this was like, I mean, I thought I was in a fog for 19 years. I just I couldn't believe the situation that I was in,
Yeah.
because it's not supposed to happen in a church. So you thinking, okay, he's in church, and then, oh, he's a pastor, so I'm safe. I don't have to worry about nothing. My father always protected me, so I thought I was getting someone that would protect me, not abuse me. I thought I was getting someone that would love me, not abuse me. I thought I was getting someone that would provide, and he abused me. So um those expectations that I had crumbled. I noticed after 30 days of being in a marriage. So 30 days into a marriage versus staying in it for 17 years and then finally divorced after 2 years after that. It was very, very traumatic. So me taking time to breathe and not even want to be, because I got to tell you, Tiffany, when I came out of that marriage, I was like, okay, where can I meet the next, my next husband? I need, the anxiety of the fact, because I had been in this program for so long, and then being by myself, I had to make an adjustment that I was uncomfortable with. And that adjustment was knowing who I was and getting reacquainted with me, because, like you said, you become a different person because your will and your desires be to that of your family, and you kind of forget what it is that you actually really wanted in life. And so many individuals go through that lifestyle in that situation, and there's people that have never been married because they haven't met the real them. They've
Right.
always become chameleons, trying to figure out how to fit in to get to that next level, instead of functioning and being who they need to be for themselves so they could be happy. Because at the end of the day, if you're not walking in your authentic lifestyle, then it becomes a burden and you wind up developing mental issues because of the war and the battle going on in your soul and your mind. So you get ripped up from the inside out. And then when you meet someone, you don't even know where to start or where to begin because you've had so much baggage along the way trying to be someone you're really not.
Right. That's huge. I mean, you have said a whole lot that was like so power packed because I mean, when coming out of a relationship, you should never, I think you should never, unless of course it depends on the circumstances surrounding the, breakup. But for me, I didn't want a relationship. I didn't want
Hmm.
to go into a relationship because I was like too busy trying to figure out what happened, why it happened, and all of that. And so it took me a minute. I didn't even date for like over 10 years
Mm.
after my
You never entertained it?
no, because I had no desire. It's like I didn't want to think about a relationship because I was hurt. I felt betrayed. I had so many different negative emotions that I had to process. I was like, no, didn't want to go out. But then one day, all of a sudden, that desire came to me again. But it was after 10 years, at least after.
Hmm. Do you think that you missed a lot because you waited?
You know what? I never even thought about, feeling like I had missed out on anything because simply because I was still trying to find me and learn how to love me, because for so long I was the wife and the mother. And we got married early. I was young. I was 22 when we got married. So
Hmm.
I didn't have a chance to really know what I liked or disliked and all of that. But in the process of that 10 years, I began to discover and like me. I began to say, hey, well, I don't have to take this or I don't have to take that. Wow. You know, and so my mama says all the time now, I'll dismiss them in a minute, because it's red flags. I'm not going to wait
Right,
others. Okay. It's like, I mean, I'm going to be real with you, be real with me. And
right,
you said earlier, you were talking about how the man that you are with, your man of God, how he wanted to know not what you had, he wanted to know the person. That's
right.
important to me. Get to know Tiffany. What's my favorite color? You know?
Mm, exactly. And that was so important to me because no one had ever asked me about me. No one ever asked me what my color was, what I like to do, or anything like that. And when I was in my first marriage, I was authentic and told them things that hurt me even from a childhood. And do you know he took that and used it
Yep.
throughout our marriage? He became I mean, mentally abusive, constantly throwing up and said, "This is why you, this is, and this is why that's happened to you," and throwing up my past. So I was a little cautious about sharing with my new husband, but then I was like, you know what? I'm 55 years old, so whatever it's going to be, it's going to be. And I just like Jesus, they said, I told him all the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that way he had an opportunity to know if he could deal with what I had been through, and if we wanted to walk out our journey. And he was authentic and told me about his past, all the things he went on, and I had that choice. And sometimes we're looking for somebody tall, dark, handsome, rich, and then sometimes you don't get that. But if you have someone whose heart is good and has something that you can build on, then you can build together. Sometimes we're too high. Some guys sometimes think that woman isn't in their league, so to speak, because they're not shaped a certain way, they don't look a certain way, they don't talk a certain way, and they don't feel that they're able to bring that woman home to mom. But what about women wanting to bring him home to our family and expose? So it works both ways.
right. That's right.
Sometimes you miss out on a diamond because you're looking for this little thing that you're slacking, that you're missing, that you think you're missing. And also what happens is we try and live within somebody's opinion of who they think we should be with, and that's a downfall as well, because there's so many good guys, there's
Right.
so many good women, but somehow they gravitate to bad boys and bad women.
Yeah, that's true. I've seen it happen over and over again. So I totally agree. I totally agree with that.
And you're like, why? How could this happen?
Mhm.
You're like, I'm available. Why is he taking someone that, doesn't spending all this money and stuff like that? But it happens every single day. Sometimes guys are happier when they get somebody that's very demanding, and just because they're beautiful, they tolerate them.
Right.
And then they take all their money and buying this and buying that, and they go on to the next person, and they're left wounded, and then they don't want to engage with a woman that's a good woman because they like the street they were on with the abuse.
Exactly. Exactly. That's sad. It's really sad. I mean, and I mean, it's like you sit and you wonder, like, what's the real key to finding that special someone, or even coming in contact with. I mean, it's like, what is it? What do we do? I mean, I've been asking myself, like, I mean, I of course most of my activities consist of church and work, school, taking classes right now. But I mean, it's like I'm trying to figure out now, trying to find a new normal where I'm saying, okay, so if I don't do anything outside of work and church mainly, then how do you expect to meet somebody? So I'm trying to now find other things to do so that I'm not just in the same little arena of people, you know, because like I said, the online thing didn't work for me. It made me really nervous. So now I got to figure out something else that I enjoy doing or want to do that causes me to maybe come in contact with somebody or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when you say that, it made you nervous, do you think you still would have had that same nervousness if you met somebody, you were saying, sitting at a restaurant and someone came over to your table and started talking to you? Do you think you would have that same type of fear?
Um, I don't know if it would be as amplified as it was. I think if somebody actually approached me at a restaurant or something, I think I would be a little more open. Still cautious but open, because for some reason I have this thing where after we have conversation for a while on the phone, then I'm okay with maybe going to get coffee or going out or whatever, because I feel like after you engage in conversation for a short period, then you know whether or not you want to even see if it could potentially be something else.
That is very important, because after a while they keep talking and talking, and they'll tell you who they are.
It,
And then you have to understand, be able to have that discernment to, and then the wherewithal to say, am I going to deal with this situation? And should I deal with this situation? Because sometimes we become victims of our
right,
own demise because we want someone so badly, or to say we have someone, especially when you're looking at the exterior of a person. You be
yeah,
like, oh, wow, why does he want me? I can't believe this guy is so fine and he wants me. So
right,
whatever he says or whatever he wants, I'm going to do it because, he's just amazing.
yeah.
But I think if we look at it from the perspective, in a lot of situations, that we're amazing, we're great, we have things going on in our lives. And then, we say, well, the pickings are slim, Dr. Val. Yeah, the pickings are slim, but they're pickings that are worth waiting for.
That's right. I believe that for sure. I know I told somebody just the other day, I'm the prize, because
Yes,
sometimes we don't know that we are the prize. And if we look at it from the scriptural standpoint, where God says, when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing and he obtains the favor of the Lord. Baby, I carry your favor. So
yes,
think about that,
yes,
to know that, and I'm not, because a lot of people, like we were talking about earlier, you're talking about sometimes they go for the external, and they'll take a bad girl, but they don't want a woman that can pray.
Mm-hmm.
I can cook and I can pray. Okay. Listen, but see, a lot of men don't want that. And that's so
Mm-hmm.
unfortunate. But I mean, like I said, I'm the prize. So he's the one missing out.
Mm-hmm. So that it comes back down to expectations. What are
Right.
you really looking for? Are you looking for a part-time thing, or are
Hmm.
you looking for something? Or are you looking for a wife, and are you looking for a husband?
Right.
Do you really want these things in your life? Prior to me meeting my husband, I looked at my closet and I said, if someone was to come into my space, would I be willing to share my space?
That's a good question.
When you when you're used to doing things your way and having things a certain way, are you willing to share your space? And what does your space look like?
Hmm.
Is your space so cluttered that you can't even habitate in your own space?
Hmm. Hmm.
So, you know, and can you cook?
Okay.
And
That
can you cook? After they start looking at you and seeing how beautiful you are and all that, can you cook?
can you cook?
Are you going to be able to sustain it? Because you're not going to be able to eat out 24/7.
Now, come on. Come on.
So, we have to actually lay the foundation and being who we are to and be open to the possibilities of sharing our life, sharing our space with someone, and vice versa. Because, you know, a lot of times we're so emotionally damaged till
Right.
when that person comes in, we're like the Tasmanian devil.
Right. Yeah,
And
that's another
you
story.
know, and I
That,
was terrible about, you know, if I met a guy and if he said one thing wrong to me, I dismissed him because I was like, oh, he sound like someone. He acted like my ex and stuff. So it'd be like no go. It'd be all done because of the fact that he failed me. And a lot of times that's what happened. Individuals fail you, and then you have to have the wherewithal to be able to stand and function in spite of the situation. And a lot of times we're not there yet. We're not there yet because we're not whole. So many of us are broken and we don't want to admit we're broken. We don't want to admit the fact that we're going through. We don't want to admit the fact that we're partial of something because we left part of ourselves with a previous relationship. And because we've done that, it's left us shattered and broken, and we're not fit to be connected with anyone.
yeah, I know. I was thinking about you were talking about your experiences and how sometimes we carry those things into the next situation or the next relationship. And oftentimes I say we view things through tinted lenses, and we definitely need to try our best to make sure that we're addressing you know past hurts and traumas, so that we don't carry that baggage into a relationship, because it can destroy something that could potentially be good, simply because we haven't done the work in ridding ourselves of that excessive pain or baggage that came from the prior relationship.
Hmm. And I will say it over and over again, get your finances in order.
Yes, yes,
You must get your finances in order. I don't care what age you are, get your finances in order.
yes.
Because from a woman's perspective, you don't want to have a mate come into your life and then you all in love and everything, and then he gets serious with you, and then when it comes down to putting together the finances, he walks away because he can't afford to marry you.
Yeah, that's we. Oh boy. Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah, that's a message all in itself. You
Yeah.
know, my dear friend Marilyn Logan wrote a book about that, calling "I Can't Afford to Marry You." She was getting ready to get married, and her husband was like, her fiance at the time was saying, let me see where your finances are,
Oh
and
wow.
they were a wreck. And he didn't marry her until she got her stuff together, because nobody wants that baggage
Right.
with you, and vice versa. Some men, their stuff is so messed up, so tore up from the floor up, and they have nothing to bring into the relationship, and you don't want to be taking care of no man.
I know that's right. I'm saying so I've heard people say most men are either looking for a mama or a nurse, and so I'm a nurse by trade. I don't want to be nobody's nurse too early, and I don't want to be anybody's mama. I got enough kids, okay, for that, you know. So
Absolutely. So how do you feel when it comes to relationships and children?
if the person has children,
Both,
or
if individuals have children, and how do you see, or have you seen how that plays out with blended families?
well, actually, I haven't. I don't think I've gone far enough in a relationship to get to the point where we had to blend the family. Simply so, but I mean, I believe that, just like we were talking about defining expectations up front, if I believe that if there are children on both sides and we're having to blend the families, I definitely think we need to, have the conversation to see how we're going to navigate, within the relationship with the two families coming together. I think that's very important to have that discussion up front.
Well, I will tell you, one of my things was I didn't want young children because my children were all grown,
Right,
and I
right.
I didn't want to deal with that
Yeah,
because I didn't want to deal with baby mama drama.
yeah, yeah.
I
I think
I had enough drama, but there are individuals that have the capacity to deal with young children. And
hmm
now the older children could be a mess because I'm telling you, my children were grown and they gave my husband a run for his money. That I was like, are they gonna run him away or what? Because
yeah,
they was like, okay, what's going on here? And I
right.
had to quickly remind them, I've been grown a long time. I pay my own bills, and you do not support me. I told my children, y'all don't support me. So if I need you, I'll holler.
Yeah,
But until then, peace be with you. So
right.
they got that, and now I mean they absolutely love him, and he absolutely loves them. And
Well, see, how you go through like a lot of stuff too, then of course, I'm sure they were very protective because my kids are very protective of me.
yes,
They try to boss me around. Sometimes I have to remind them that I am the mother.
you the mother.
They were, very protective of you because of things they saw you go through. So, yeah.
And he has two children. I absolutely love them,
Wonderful.
and our granddaughters, my grandchildren. I mean, it's blended. I absolutely love we. And the thing was, one of the things we did before we got married was we went and visited all our families. He introduced me to his family. I introduced him to all my family. And we sat and thinking, he came up with the idea. I didn't care. I was like, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. Didn't matter to me. But, it made a lot of sense, because of the fact that you say I do, it says that people say, well, you're not marrying a family. But yeah, indeed you are.
Yes, you are.
You are. And no, they don't have to like you, they don't have to love you, but they at least have to tolerate you or some in some capacity because you're attached to that individual. And then be if you be your authentic self, they will come to like you or love you like they like him and love him. So it's very important that we walk in truth.
That's right. That's right. That is so very right.
And truth is very important. We have to walk in truth. Well, our show is almost about over, and Dr. J hasn't made it in, so we will continue. Is loving easy from a male's perspective next week? And Tiffany, I want to ask you that if you have any nuggets that you can leave for individuals that are seeking love, or individuals that are contemplating wanting to get more serious in a relationship that they're already in, things that they should observe and look for.
You say, okay, so one thing I would say is and my motto is be true to yourself first and foremost. Be true to yourself. Really, really know what you want, because if you don't know what you want, then you'll find yourself accepting things that you should not accept. And for people that are in relationships, I think it's very important to make sure that you're cultivating the relationship in the way that it should be cultivated, as far as making sure that you're keeping the lines of communication open, you're being transparent, and trying your best not to like keep any secrets and all of that, because at the end of the day, if it so happens that things go awry, it's because maybe you haven't been on the up and up and all of that. So just be
Mm-hmm.
open about things up front, and hopefully there won't be any surprises that pop up along the way, as you get further into the relationship and things of that nature. But I mean, love hard, get to know the person, truly get to know each individual, have them, I mean, and share, be open and share things that are of concern early. Don't allow things to wait before you say, well, hey, well, you said this or you did this and it bothered me. Don't hold it in, and don't wait until later to bring it up. If it's something that's bothering you, let them know early on, so that you can correct like the wrong behavior, if there is wrong behavior or whatever.
Mm, that is awesome
Yeah.
nuggets to leave with individuals. And I would leave this for individuals: clean your closet out.
That's good.
Yes.
Thing
You
it
gotta
makes
clean, you gotta clean your closet out, and that means financially, physically, get yourself together, because the older you get, you go through health issues, and you want to be able to sustain in that relationship and not be a burden because you didn't take care of yourself. And then the bigger picture is to, so that you can both love on each other and protect one another by looking out for yourself. uh, get yourself financially in a place where you're not running and ducking from collectors, and when the phone ring, you scared to answer it in front of that person because you owe these bills because you've not been credit worthy. So we need to be authentic in our relationships, and because at the end of the day, when you're in a relationship with someone, and it is a relationship, which means it's long term and going somewhere, the truth is going to come out.
That's right.
The truth will eventually come out. So you have to be authentic in all you do. And in closing, I would invite you to subscribe to Hot Topics from the Soul on YouTube. And if these nuggets that Tiffany and I gave you been a great asset or help to you, pass it along. And we'll see you next Tuesday on another Hot Topics from the Soul. And remember, love affects our past, our
Yeah.
present, and our future. Love is an emotion and a gift given to us from God, and it should never, ever hurt. Good night and God bless.
Hey.